Recording it.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to our soulful morning. Let's welcome this beautiful day, this wonderful week with so much love, with so much light. This wonderful day of the Shera, where we kill all the evils in us and embrace a new beginning. So let's go deep within by closing our eyes, by being so grateful for all the divine magics that are happening in and around us, that continue to surround us, that continue to nurture us, to take our soul more deeper and deeper in this world which rings with blessings and sounds of magic. Each one of us is blessed beyond boundaries. Each one of us is known to evolve. Each one of us chooses to enliven and enlighten ourselves, choosing to study spirituality, to discover spirituality, to discover our own soul's reality, our own soul's path, and our own soul's purpose, slowly and gradually. And while we are at it, we are deeply ingrained, tuned to understand what is this wonderful soul world all about, how beautifully divine it is, how magically the Creator has made us humans, being chosen by a soul each. And when we reincarnate or incarnate on Mother Earth again, it is because we choose this school, this planet, Gaia, as a school to learn, to grow, to evolve, to involve ourselves, to help shift our own mindset, to help elevate our consciousness, and at times help others too. This chosen world where all of us have many lives, many masters, when all of us have lived eons of times. I've had countless number of lives. We now realize that there's a veil which is there on the conscious mind, which doesn't allow us to see beyond the ordinary, which doesn't let us tap into our past lives' memory because we haven't yet become conscious enough. But the higher we become conscious, the higher our consciousness evolves, the easier this veil is lifted. At times, we take the support of past life regressions or Akashic reading. But when we evolve, we're able to tap into our memory by just downloads coming in, by just memories washing in. Because each one of us is full of wisdom. And that wisdom comes in when we keep working on ourselves moment to moment, living with awareness, living with accountability, because each step matters. Smallest steps makes the biggest of difference. Sustainability, continuing, discipline, dedication, acceptance, welcoming the change. These are important parts of our soul's dwelling, our soul's growth. When we live to smile through pain, when we live to embrace the loss, when we live to accept everyone and everything the way it is without deeming for it to change. When we bring the change within us, inside of us, when we stop complaining, stop seeing the darks in others, and when the world is luminous and bright, and we only see the light in others, then we are pretty much in synchronicity with the universal magic. And then that's when we can say that we have learned to grow beyond the ordinary. Each one of us sometimes is looking for a life's purpose. And we can now realize that whatever our name is, the meaning is, we should realize that we have chosen this name at a soul level to remind us of our soul purpose. That's just a little tiny part of it. But what's most important for our soul's growth is that we learn to live in unconditional love and bright, luminous light. Isn't that powerful? Isn't that magical? Isn't that so heartwarming? To live in a world of no boundaries. To live in a world of love. While some may say this is possible when others change, but if we are really truly becoming soulful and spiritual, we'll find the change within. We will shift our energy. We will accept what is unfolding in this magical world. And now, at this point, let's take 100 seconds and be grateful for the 10 beautiful things that have happened in the last 24 hours of our session. Let's learn to count the blessings in the slightest of things, in the smallest of things. And then these 10 blessings in 100 seconds would feel short. So let's go inwards and continue to reminisce and count our blessings. After having done that, my blessing this was a bit too long today. After gratitude, let's just feel this wonderful breath that's going in. No need for a shift in the breath to make it longer, shallower, deeper, longer. Just remain with your breath for 2 to 3 minutes, letting whatever voices are happening around you stay in the background. But your innermost sync should be with your breath work. See how organically and easily we are able to breathe in this beautiful, priceless gift of oxygen, of air that surrounds us. No matter it's polluted or whatever they say with the AQI, just let that be. Let's tune in. Conscious breathing. Any thoughts come in apart from your breath work, come back to your breath. Our left brain is so analytical. It's kind of like a monkey mind. It'll keep feeding us thoughts, but it's our choice to keep bypassing it and to be in sync with our magical breath. How easily it comes. Nostrils flare a bit. The breath travels all the way down to our tummy and comes all the way up, and there are pauses in between when we exhale and when we inhale. How beautifully it's been designed. Of course, we know by now that breath work, if done in various fashions, in various manners, can be beneficial for many other things. But to be grateful for this gift of breath, natural breath, is so beautiful. And when we start becoming conscious of our breath work, slowly, gradually, we realize that it's no longer shallow. Initially, when we began meditation, our breath used to end at a diaphragm level and go up again to the chest level. But now, automatically, it goes to our stomach level. That's another indicator that we are becoming conscious. And our soulful journey, our spiritual journey, is that we are on the right path. We're traversing it step by step, bit by bit, breath by breath. If you feel the need to, start tuning into the various systems in your magical body, which works like a perfect machinery. The endocrine system doing its work, the digestive system doing its work, the respiratory system doing its work, the pulmonology happening, the bones getting strengthened with love and light, the blood circulating. Yesterday, we practiced the clearance of the energy channels, tapping on the nadis, which activates our blood level. So, if you feel the need, you can again tap your entire body, every inch by inch, and activate your blood again. Because we've all rested beautifully in the night, even though some minds were going on strong and big and deep in thoughts, yet we got a couple of hours. Grateful for so much more that's happening around us. Tuning into all the magics of divinity, the wondrous nature of life unfolding. When you come near your chest, when you're tapping, keep affirming. My heart is becoming more expansive by the minute. There is so much love in it to give, and there's so much love it receives unconditionally. I'm open and receptive to giving love. I'm open and receptive to receiving love. I'm a channel of love. I'm a channel of light. I shine bright, right here, right now. I share my shine. When you tap on your throat, be grateful that your chakras have energy centers have opened up and you're able to express yourself beautifully. When you bless your jaws by tapping, all the stuck up energy in the jaws gets released. When you tap on your ears, you're able to hear so much more better. Because listening is an art which we are still mastering. Because when somebody is speaking to us, we are hearing what the person is speaking, but we're also planning what to speak next. But the minute we start tapping near our ears, our listening skill opens up. We become a great listener. And when we become a great listener, magics open up because we can read behind the words. Some people can't say it just with expressed words. Their eyes talk, their body language talk. And that's when our ears are listening to the entire body and not just the words. Our eyes listen, our sensory organs listen. Because we have 70% water in us, and water listens, water has a memory. To traverse on this soulful journey is so soulful in itself, brings us into a state of bliss, of joy, of happiness, of eternal being, of eternal oneness. Let's all be so grateful. And on this symbolic day, let's tell all the vices, the evils which are there inside us. These evils could be diseases, these evils could be a lethargy or the tendency to get angry or frustrated or anxious. Today, just say, let's affirm each one of us that I choose to release and let go of all that is not of love's light in me. I choose to become the better version of me. I release all the evils in me and I celebrate the goodness in everyone and me. May whatever unfold be for the highest good of all and me. And this is my prayer. And so it is. So it is. So it is. Now put your hands close to your heart. Feel this affirmation. And right near your hearts, bless the world. May everything be good. And may the good always be a winner over bad. And may goodness prevail. And may everyone savor the moment of goodness. May the consciousness rise. May Mother Earth's ascension be much more faster. Love, light, and blessings to every sentient being out there. Thank you, thank you, thank you for sharing this beautiful space of our morning meditation. And now we all are get up and ready to continue our journey into this wonderful book that we are reading, which is named Miracles Happen by Dr. Brian Weiss. And the first heading that we read is Life Doesn't Have to Be Hard. This again, a reminder for us. When we say life isn't easy, that means we are trying to say that life is hard. But does it have to be hard? If we all learn to accept and embrace whatever is unfolding around us, knowing that is happening for a reason, then it'll flow. Then we'll start saying that life flows, that we flow with life. Now, isn't that in itself magical and powerful? For those of us who feel the need to say so, let's change our words. Change your words, change your life. Such a powerful line and such a powerful book. Let's continue with the morning reading. Let's start a morning reading. One of my sessions with a client was an especially interesting and moving story, not only because of the rich details, the realizations, and the emotional healing, but also because the client spoke in two different languages, neither of which he or I knew. Giorgio found himself in a crowded chamber in an ancient time in the Middle East. He was amongst a group of people who were having an audience with the king of that land. They were refugees who sought to settle there. Servants stood on both sides of the path that led to the crowd, that led to the throne. An advisor whispered something to the king. Meanwhile, the crowd anxiously awaited the verdict of what would happen to them. An important decision was to be made. The king rose from his throne, walked down the steps, and said, Anan Shatlan Temak. It was not a language the crowd understood. I don't know how I pronounced it. Good or bad, no idea. Latin Greek for me, just the way it is for Dr. Brian Weiss and the person who's speaking it. And no one knew what it meant. They were all murmuring nervously amongst each other. Soldiers surrounded them, and the refugees were scared that they would be killed. However, their lives were spared, and they were allowed to settle in the outskirts of the town in a separate designated area where the land was not fertile. Not much grew there, and they mostly raised animals to survive. It was hard living. I asked Giorgio to go into his house and see where he lived. Tears began falling from his eyes as he spoke. I am a girl, a teenage girl. I came home and my mother is telling me how hard life is. I it always is and it always will be for us. She loved me very much. And she's telling me that life is always hard for us wherever we go. And I believe her. I listen to her and I nod. I agree. We have to work so hard. Is she distressed? I asked. Does she have a heavy heart or heavy burden on her heart? No, she's not distressed. She's just telling me how it is for us. This is our life, our lot in life. The girl, Giorgio, in that lifetime accepted and internalized these statements. She's experiencing it and seeing it with her own eyes, and she never gets questioned, and she never questioned her mother's attitude. Giorgio told me that he was an only child in that life, a girl called Anash. I asked him about Anash's mother. She's my current mother. She's a lot tougher in this life than she is now, but she is the same soul. Anash's father was a tall, balding man with a beard. One day, soldiers came and killed him with spears right in front of their home. He had stolen something. The mother had known of this crime and must have suspected that this could happen, for when the soldiers arrived, she was very organized and quickly hid her daughter inside the house. The significance of this event is not my father's death, but my mother's reaction to it. It confirmed everything that she believed in, and has taught me all that life is pain and suffering. That is our lot in life, and that is what my mother still tells me today. The girl married a man who lived in the town. Over the years, the younger people from Anash's tribe slowly integrated into the town by marrying and working there. I asked if Anash visited her mother often. Yes, Giorgio said, I bring her oranges. Tears rolled down Giorgio's cheeks, and his voice betrayed the emotions that he felt. Anash was often able to sneak away flat, round pieces of bread and oranges and bring them to her mother. Life was a little better for Nash now. The house where she lived was an actual house, not a tent or a shack. There was still no money, or very little, but Anash's husband was a miller, which gave them stable access to food. He was also Jewish, and even though he was too part of a minority group, Jews were more integrated in society than Anash's tribe. Giorgio, as Anash began speaking in another language, and said, there are all these Hebrew words I know now. My next important moment in Anasha's life was the death of her mother. The mother is old. She's old and sick. I'm touching her face. She's dying. I'm saying that I love her. She's weak. She's bony. I was very close to her. How do you feel? I feel very, very upset. I just feel like she was right that life is so hard. In that meantime, as Anash, Giorgio needed to learn that the perception of life being a struggle was only an assumption, only one way of looking at life, only a belief. In his present reincarnation, he continued to believe this. But life is not all pain and suffering. Changes happen in ways one could never predict. Things happen. Sorry, I just lost. Where was I? Things happen. Where is it? Things happen in ways one could never expect. And this is a very important lesson for both Giorgio and his mother. She continued to truly and deeply believe that life was a struggle, and consequently, every situation in her life confirmed that perception. Life is full of potential. Miracles do happen, and they both needed to know that. In his present life, Giorgio grew up hearing from his mother the very same thing she taught him when he was previously known as Anash. Giorgio carried the same attitude in him, and when describing the difficulties he had encountered before the regression, he spoke of his life as something that needed to be constantly fought and survived. This attitude, that life is a battlefield, had spilled over into every corner of his life, his career, his finances, his relationships, and even his creative expression as an artist. After a session, Giorgio chose to disassociate from the belief of life as a struggle. He realized that the circumstances that created the belief in Anash's life do not exist in his life as Giorgio, and that he is now a different person. There was no need to be negative or to worry that things were out of his control. He understood that he had the power to choose and that he did not need to perceive the world through his mother's eyes. The choice was made to be grateful for everything good that he had been given instead of ignoring it and focusing on what was wrong. Giorgio decided to see life and to live life as a marvelous unfolding of possibilities and blessings. It has been more than a year now since our regression. From speaking with Giorgio, I see that the shift in him is permanent. The understanding that our session brought him has freed him from the need to recreate constant struggle in his life. He now knows that life is full of potential and that miracles do happen. This is authored by Mira Kelly, and I think it's beautiful. And in the introduction to this chapter, says Dr. Brian Weiss, I mentioned that what we encounter as adults may confirm or contradict the untested viewpoints and attitudes that perhaps we were taught as children and that we may have swallowed, undigested, and unexamined. Giorgio's account provides an excellent example of how these early beliefs and assumptions may be distorted or even false. New understandings may seem odd or strange at first because they're unfamiliar, but with time and practice, truth prevails. Mira expertly guided Giorgio to a higher level of awareness. His life became much more fulfilling and joyful as a result. Giorgio and his mother, in lifetimes both present and past, believed life to be hard. They're not alone. Over the years, many readers and workshop participants have asked me why they're here in this difficult physical dimension at all. Why don't we just stay on the other side, in the heavenly dimensions, and learn there? Where do we not have all the burden, all the pain of physical existence? This is a complicated question because it implies a much higher spiritual perspective. It is like trying to know the mind of God. My answer is incomplete, but it has helped some people. I liken physical existence to the first day of kindergarten when we had to leave the familiarity and comforts of home to go to school and to begin that stressful trek through the various grades and classrooms. A kindergarten student might object, saying, "Why do I need this? Why can't I just stay at home and learn there? Who needs school anyway? I was perfectly happy to be in my home. I don't want to be there." But the young child lacks the perspective to appreciate the purpose and value of school, to get an education, learn many subjects, prepare for a career, function in society, earn a living, interact with peers, and so on and so forth. The child does not realize that home will change, that parents will grow older and retire or move. Everything changes. We're like the kindergarten student. We don't completely understand why we are here in this physical school on earth, but nevertheless, the reality is that we are indeed here, whatever the reasons may be. And we have to make the best of it, learning our spiritual lessons, and then, just like a young student going home after a long day of school, ultimately returning to our own true home. Now, what is our own true home? I request you to please type in the chat box or even to unmute yourselves and tell me. We are in this world of spirituality, discovering our soul's essence. When we say returning to our own home, where we compare Mother Earth as a school for learning, and after the school is over, going home. All right. Yes, I pop and came. Yes, Madhuri, heaven or hell, I do not know. But going back to the spiritual realm, going back home as being a soul, being free of a body. Yes, Ritu, to ourselves, to our own truth, our eternal truth of being a soul. Absolutely, Pratimaji, where we come from, the above. That is truly home. And the most beautiful part is that it is on us to make our home here on Mother Earth. If we start operating from love, light, joy, and happiness, then Mother Earth will become a heaven on earth. Then we won't have to wonder how heaven above will be. Because if we are peaceful, if we are joyful, if we are grateful, only this energy will expand because that's emotions we're emoting. And emotions in itself means energy in motion. And then how life will unravel will be nothing short of magics multiplied. Now, how do we find peace? Is a question to be asked by many. And in this particular section, where another story is shared by another keen participant in that Omega workshop, let's understand what are they sharing. My husband and I attended your Los Angeles seminar. I booked the trip at the last minute from Houston because of a dream. A few days before the trip, I dreamt that you shook my hand and said something in my ear. It took me a while to comprehend what you said, but when you were shaking hands with my husband, I finally understood what it was. You said that I do not have kids in this lifetime because I had lost two kids in my two previous lifetimes, and that is why I'm afraid to have children. Oh boy, that woke me up and bucked the heck out of me. Because I'm not afraid of having kids. I am tired of trying to conceive, and I am letting nature take its own course. I had to find out more. During your morning seminar on past life regression, I had this image in my mind of a white woman living in the mountains with a husband and a son. It was a simple and peaceful life. At the end, when you asked what lessons was to be learned from that lifetime, all I felt from it was pure contentment and peace. Then it occurred to me that it does not matter what life I have, as long as I'm learning to be content, peaceful, compassionate, patient, and generous. As long as I'm learning all the great teachings that life, your books and Buddhism have to offer, I am good. So be it. And I don't have kids. I work with children every day as I'm a pediatric dentist, and that is happiness for me. Thank you for allowing me to discover this message, says Michelin Lynn. Now just see this woman's energy. So infectious, so amazing. And let's ponder over the line when she says, as long as I'm learning all the great teachings that life, books, and other things have to offer. Now, in other things, it could be any religion. If religion is teaching you good virtues and not being that my religion is more superior than others, then aren't we in the most fantastic place chosen? The most fantastic times. Satyuk is here. How wonderful that we've crossed from one dark stage to one light stage, that we are crossing. Michelle's story is brief but powerful. The ending may not yet be written. I'm sure that she has borne hundreds or even thousands of children over the course of her many lifetimes. In her present life, she cares for children every day. The insights and treasures of the spiritual wisdom gained after regression are compelling. What a blessing to truly comprehend the basic nature of compassion, patience, and generosity as guides and stepping stones to our liberation. I truly relate with this. If you understand the very basic, if we understand the very basic nature of empathy, of compassion, of patience, of faith, of generosity, of love, of kindness, and take them as our guiding factors, as our guidelines, and live life with every step taken with these in our life as principles or virtues that we adorn and that we have in us, then nothing in the world can distract us ever. Michelle understands this at a deep and experientially derived level. She knows it. Over the years, I've had many female patients presenting with fertility issues. Quite a few were able to conceive after the past life block, such as fear of losing a child once again, was removed, or after the tension was reduced through acceptance and understanding. If Michelle continues to live with contentment and peace, happy with what she already has, her odds of getting pregnant will dramatically increase. The following two stories expand on this theme. Last chance. A number of years ago, Brian was giving a workshop in a large auditorium in Florida. We arrived early, and Brian was busy in the front of the room checking on the sound, lighting, and stage arrangement. I took a seat in the last row and patiently waited for the day to start. Soon, a young woman came into the room, wheeling a beautiful infant in a stroller. She sat down close to me. I find babies entrancing. I love their smell, their soft skin, their fuzzy hair, and their silly smiles. Now my heart wants to go and touch a baby. I also love babies. They always remind me of the wonderful times when my now grown children were that age. The young mother and I engaged in small talk about the baby girl, and then I introduced myself to her, realizing that I was Brian's wife, she says. You're not aware of it, but your husband is responsible for my daughter's birth. Now, those are not words that any wife wants to hear. Remembering the neutral demeanor that I was trained to use as a social worker, I replied, "Oh, tell me more." She told me that she had always wanted to be a mother. Soon after her marriage, she and her husband decided to start their family. However, after months and months went by without conceiving, they consulted fertility specialists. Still, they were unable to have children. The woman underwent years of treatment and procedures, some of which were intrusive, painful, and embarrassing. Yet every month, the couple went into from hope to despair. She was scheduled to see another expert for a new treatment, and she was driving to that appointment. She decided that if procedure did not work, she would stop trying to conceive. Enough was enough. As a woman and the doctor's waiting room surrounded by many pregnant women, she thought of many lives, many masters, and the concepts of souls choosing their parents. And she remembered that the souls may be of family members or friends who have passed on. Out loud in front of everyone, she looked up at the ceiling and said, "Okay, if any of you want to come back, this is the time. This is your last chance with me." Perhaps somebody was listening. The procedure was successful, and 9 months later, this beautiful child was born, says Carol Wise. I may have been partly responsible for this baby, but I myself have borne many children. I have been male and female. Over my many incarnations, I have been all races, all religions, all nationalities. So have we all, because we are not our bodies, which are merely our temporary homes. We're the souls moving from life to life, learning how to realize our spiritual nature here on the earth. The shift in perspective from identifying with the body to identifying with the soul is a fundamental step on our journey. To know one's true nature is both freeing and healing. An ego or mundane mind can be easily afflicted by daily events and problems. But at the soul level, our deep calm is not affected by the mini catastrophes of everyday life or by outer conflicts. A greater perspective allows peace to prevail and our hearts to remain open and loving. Jennifer, whose story follows, discovered this perspective one day in a massage therapist's office where she realized that she had subconsciously been identifying with a body that had worn hundreds of years ago. This identification manifested itself physically as a scar and also psychologically as a fear about starting a family. The resulting change in perspective freed her to experience the joys of motherhood just as it had for the young woman in Carol's story and just as it may soon for Michelle. The next section is called Scars of Sadness. I believe it is a Buddhist proverb that says, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. It was in a bookstore in November. I was in a bookstore in November 2004, looking for a book to read on a long flight to Las Vegas, and the newest book by Dr. Weiss jumped out at me as I passed by. I began reading as soon as my flight departed and then stopped until we touched down in Vegas 5 hours later. For some reason, this book resonated with me in a much different way than the others had. I suppose it was timing. I was ready to hear the messages and to begin to implement them in my life. As a licensed clinical social worker, I was excited and eager to learn more about how to utilize past life regression as a therapeutic tool with my clients. To my complete amazement, I read that Dr. Wise would be speaking at the Miami Book Fair just a few days later and that he would also be doing a book signing. I attended his lecture, and at the signing, I told Dr. Wise what an impression his book had on me and inquired also about learning more. Dr. Wise was so kind, took the time to talk with me, as he did with everyone who had waited in line, and encouraged me to attend his professional training in Austin, Texas, the following year. I did attend the weekend long training and began utilizing the technique shortly afterwards. Although I had read several books on past life regression, attended numerous workshops and seminars, and gone to several practitioners, I had not experienced a vivid regression myself. I had feelings, and sometimes I would have olfactory experiences, but the images and sensations never fully developed. My first PLR happened during what I thought at the time to be a massage treatment for temporomandibular joint disorder. Never heard. TMG. My husband had been in a car accident and was referred to a massage therapist for treatment. After his first session, he called me and encouraged me to see the massage therapist as she specialized in treatment for TMG. I'd suffered from this issue for many years, and the symptoms were becoming increasingly worse with me. So I quickly made an appointment. About halfway through my massage, feeling completely safe and not having any expectations from other than relaxation, I began to have visualizations that made absolutely no sense to me. I then realized that the massage therapist was no longer working on my jaw, but that she now had her hands hovering over my head. I would later learn that she was using a technique called somato emotional release. What are you seeing? She asked me. Feeling embarrassed, I said nothing. Are you sure? Yes, I responded. Intrigued with these visualizations and her inquiries, I said, why do you ask? She said, I'd like you to describe everything that you're seeing, no matter how silly it may be. Quite silly is exactly what I thought it was. But I took the risk and shared my visions with her. At first, they came in bits and pieces, but then they developed into an experience that I felt I was reliving. I'd begun to see an ocean with a ship sailing away in the distance. On the ship were several men who looked like Vikings. They were sailing away from me and then realized that these Vikings had left me alone on the deserted island. The time was at least 1,000 years ago, and the feeling was dark and grim. I was at least at that moment that I felt my stomach and I realized that I was at least 6 months pregnant. I then became aware of who had impregnated and left me. It was my own father in that lifetime. He was one of the Vikings on the ship, and he had abandoned me on this island. I was just a young girl. I felt embarrassed, isolated, sad, angered, and ultimately pure despair. Out of desperation, I took a sword and plunged it into my stomach on the bottom left side. My intention was to kill the baby, but I believe that it was also to kill myself. My next memory was of delivering a baby, completely by myself on this island. The baby was dead. I emerged from this experience without knowing the end of this girl's lifetime, but it was clear to me that it was a vivid past life memory. The first thing that I did was to touch the area where the sword had entered my stomach. It was the exact area that had inexplicably developed a skin irritation about 6 months earlier, which had left a white scar about 3 inches in width and an inch in length. I had been to several doctors, none could figure out what it was or how it originated. It would not go away with any treatment. The last doctor had said that did not disappear in a month. They would have to do a biopsy. When I arrived home to tell my husband about the experience, I pulled away the clothes that were covering the scar to show him the site where the sword had entered my body in the past lifetime. To my surprise, the mark had significantly diminished. The next morning, when I awoke, it was completely gone. It has never returned. Oh my God, this is next level. Next level validation. Perhaps even more important, that was a turning point when my husband and I began planning to start a family. We had been married for many years and had discussed the possibility for a long time, but I had never been ready to proceed. I feared that something would be wrong with the baby and that it would not love me and that my husband would leave me once we had a child, even though he had given me no reason to believe that this would happen. But now I understood where my concerns had come from. I'd had them for 1,000 years. I realized that I no longer needed to bear the scars of that lifetime. Indeed, when I uncovered their source, they disappeared. We are now the very happy and proud parents of a beautiful little girl, says Jennifer Williams, and I am touched with the story beyond possibility, beyond words can explain. Each of these stories not only echoes past life themes, but also demonstrates how much we have underestimated the power and the limits of the human mind. Jennifer's story contains so many of these consciousness expanding elements. For example, a scar appearing and then disappearing at the very location of a past life wound. As I have mentioned previously, researchers have amply documented a similar phenomenon in children who have significant birthmarks at the site of traumas from past lives. We do not need to continue to guide the fears and symptoms that we have not been shouldering for thousands of years, discovering and understanding the root causes, releasing us from these ancient burdens. They need not scar us forever. Karma is not punishment, but rather the opportunity for growth. The Viking men in Jennifer's past life will have to repay her for leaving her to die on the deserted island. They will need to understand, not at the deepest level, that killing is wrong and that life is to be nurtured, not taken. They will have future lifetimes in which this basic lesson is learned through their own experiences. And even if these experiences are difficult and painful, they're not retribution. They're simply the avenue for learning the lesson of non-violence. Karmic connections continue over lifetimes as relationships are reestablished, expanded, and fulfilled. Our loved ones travel with us throughout time. We learn our lessons together. Sometimes they teach us, sometimes we teach them. The earth is our school, and we are both classmates and teachers. When we remember our past lives together, a deep appreciation of our shared journey emerges. The quality of the relationship is deepened, and abiding patience is acquired because we can see the multifaceted and eternal nature of the connection. Understanding allows us to enter the hearts and the minds of other people. This is true empathy. We know the origin of their fears, their hopes, and their behavior. Seeing all this, we no longer take their actions personally. We can be patient and accepting. Understanding is the basis of love, writes Zen monk Thich Nhat Hanh. The following story of Christy and her son Austin richly illustrates this lesson. And we will read the story tomorrow. And today we'll call it a day by not reading any further and going within to meditate. Today being the Shera, I believe it's a holiday for everybody across our country. So I'm guided to get you into a trance, to tap into one of your PLRs, And today, the intention of your PLR would be to release all blockages which come or they reflect or they have manifested in your life as a shortcoming, which means that you could be somebody who gets angry very fast, somebody who gets frustrated very fast, somebody who gets anxious very fast, somebody who tends to gain weight very fast, somebody who tends to get sick very fast, somebody who tends to feel the pain very often. Pick up any one theme which you want to release today, one or multiple, with the intention that today in my meditation, no matter how long I go in, I consciously or subconsciously, I'm going to release the traumas that have caused this particular thing in my present day life. I detach myself from all past wounds. I am now fresh and able to live my life the way I desire to design my life. And so it is. Now, you needn't repeat this after me. When I've said this, you've heard this, we've all given this out in the universe. And now it's time for you to get comfortable on your beds or your recliners or your comfortable slouchy chairs where you can kind of just become very, very comfortable. Take a minute to find that spot. I'm happy to wait until you find it. And for those of you who've already found that spot, get in touch with your breath work, please. As you all know, that I am going to take you from 1 to 20 count. And when I come from, sorry, I should say 20 to 1 count. And when I say 1, you will be deep into a trance. You would probably feel sleepy with your eyes being heavy, and that's perfect. So some of you may sleep off, and it's perfectly fine. Morning 7 to 8, you definitely can sleep. Some of you may be in a trance, which is also great. If you realize some memory and you want to write it down in the group, please do that. If you don't and you think it's your private world, that's also fine. Maybe you can just share that I've had a great healing experience. Because I know for sure today is a day where we are going to be releasing. It's anyways the time to release. Today is all about releasing. Today is all about killing all the negativity inside us. All right. As you're comfortably rested, take 3 deep breaths in and try and holding the breath when you release and try and holding the breath when you inhale. Try and do box breathing. If possible, 7 counts each or 5 counts each as per your own convenience. By now, you know how to box breathe. Continue to breathe. You're already relaxing. There's a very high possibility that when I'm counting 20 to 1, I go into a trance. And if there's no voice, you too go try and get into a trance by just going deeper with your breath. I will make my earnest effort to be up and about until we've guided each other into this PLR. As you continue to breathe at 20, you're already relaxed. 19, you're going in deeper in your inner layers. It's as if there are steps made inside of us. And these 20 steps will lead you to your deepest being, where the traumas are kept. And when you reach there, traumas will exist. 18, you've come a step closer to finding the truth. 17, you're ready to heal. 16, you're open and receptive to understanding why you are going through what you're going through. 15, your mind reads it, and now it's helping you relax and shifting the gear of your being. 14, the extra thought and journeying has left you. 13, you're going in so much more deeper, so much more relaxed. 12, you've reached in a trance already. 12, going deeper, a step down into the internal world. 11, you're ready to tap into the magics. 9, you are aware that healing will happen today. 10, you're now halfway inside your wonderful depth mind. 9, you have the energies of the Navgraha to go inside you. 8, infinitely you've gone through something and now you're ready to release. 7, being a spiritual person, you're now ready to take the next step. 6, you're sinking in deeper and deeper. 5, you're almost there. 4, you're in a deep state of just being. 3, you surrender. 2, your body is now rested in a deep state. And 1, you are there. In the deeper layers of your being lies a trauma, an experience that's brought upon you what you're unable to accept in this life. It's time for you to experience it and release it. Be blessed. Keep releasing, keep releasing, keep releasing.